Think of a moment you messed up so badly you can still feel it. The thing you said that came out wrong. The laugh that didn't land. The time you tripped, or blanked, or showed up looking like a mess in front of people whose opinion mattered to you. You've replayed it 100 times since. Alone in bed. In the shower. Mid-conversation about something completely different, when suddenly it's back, as sharp as the day it happened. What if I told you almost nobody else remembers it at all? What if the people you're so sure are still judging you barely noticed in the first place, and forgot within minutes? You are not broken, and you don't lack thick skin. You are running a survival program built for a world that stopped existing a long time ago, and it is charging you for every minute it runs. Real time. Years of it. Time you don't get refunded. Here's why your brain does this to you, and how to finally turn it off. The Player One Trap. In 1999, psychologist Thomas Gilovich handed a college student a giant, ridiculous Barry Manilow t-shirt and sent them into a room full of strangers. The student pulls it on, catches their reflection, and already feels the heat rising in their face. Walking through that door feels like stepping onto a lit stage, a spotlight tracking every wrinkle in the fabric, every stranger's eyes locking on instantly. Gilovich asked the student afterward how many people they thought had noticed. The guess? About half the room. The real number was closer to 1 in 5. And the ones who missed it weren't being polite. They weren't sparing anyone's feelings. They were adjusting their own collar, replaying their own last sentence, checking a phone for a text that hadn't come yet. This is the spotlight effect, and once you see it, it doesn't go away. You move through the world assuming you're the lead in everyone else's story. In reality, everyone else is starring in their own, and none of them have the screen space left to watch yours. The stutter you're still cringing over was the headline in your head. To the room, it was gone before they reached their car. The village and the 70-year-old, my father, was born in a village where the houses stood close enough that you could hear a neighbor's kettle through the wall. Fences were low, and people leaned over them constantly, watching, asking, keeping score. What people said about you there wasn't gossip, it was currency. It decided whether doors opened for your family or stayed shut. So he learned early to manage what people thought of him, to smooth things over, to take the path with the fewest ripples. It kept him safe, in that place at that time. Decades later, he's in his 70s, sitting by a window with a stack of journals he never got around to filling. He told me 2 regrets. The first, a career he wanted, walked away from because it didn't look respectable enough to the people who raised him. The second, money spent, or not spent, chasing the approval of neighbors who have since moved away, or died, or simply forgotten whatever they thought they knew about him. The tribe he spent his life managing had already dissolved, it was never permanent, and it was barely even watching for long. What stayed was the life he didn't let himself live. His alone to sit with, in a quiet room, decades later. The smoke alarm in your chest. Someone touches a hot stove and yanks their hand back. A sharp jolt straight up the arm. Someone else reads a text. It was long, honest, a little exposed. The reply comes back. Okay. Or nothing at all. Just 2 check marks and silence. Brain scans say those 2 moments barely register as different. Social rejection lights up the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the same region that fires when your body is actually injured. Social pain and physical pain share the same wiring. Try to actually feel that stove burn right now. You can't. It's a flat memory, filed away, safe. Now think about a rejection from 5 years ago. A breakup, a friend group that quietly stopped inviting you. A different region, the dorsomedial prefrontal cortex, switches the pain center back on. Live, as if it's happening this second. A burn heals and stays healed. A social wound reopens on command, just by thinking about it. I don't think this is a flaw so much as outdated code, written for a world where getting cast out of the group meant dying alone in the wilderness. That code never got updated. It still treats a cold text or a joke that doesn't land like a 5-alarm fire. It's not weakness. It's a smoke detector that can't tell steam from flame. If any of this is landing, it's worth sitting with. Subscribing won't rewire the alarm, but it'll keep you here for the part where we actually work with it instead of jumping every time it goes off. Reclaiming your authority. There's a version of you that says yes to plans you didn't want. Runs the errand nobody asked for. Nods along in the back of an Uber, agreeing with an opinion you don't hold, just to keep things smooth. You've probably filed this under kindness. Look closer and it's fear, dressed up. Underneath the agreeable smile is a quiet trade. If I manage what you think of me well enough, I stay safe. That's not generosity. That's a control strategy aimed at your own anxiety. And every preference you erase to keep the peace is a small act of abandoning yourself. Psychologists call the system running this the sociometer, a gauge that tracks not fuel, but your standing in the group. How liked, how included, how safe. Most people spend their lives trying to shake that needle up from the outside, through approval and achievement, instead of asking a better question: what actually deserves to move it? Draw the line yourself. Not a wall against people, a boundary around 2 or 3 values you won't trade away, no matter who's watching. Your health, not everyone's comfort. Your honesty, not everyone's ease. The work you came here to do, not everyone's expectations of it. The gauge will still twitch. That's fine. The goal was never to stop feeling it. It's to stop obeying it. My way. Fast forward to the actual end. You, decades from now, in a quiet room, looking back at everything you were given. Palliative nurse Bronnie Ware spent years listening to people in their final weeks. Almost none of them brought up the coworker who once side-eyed them, or the group chat that went quiet. By then, the people whose opinions felt urgent at the time are barely a flicker. What stays is simpler and heavier, the life they didn't live because they were too busy managing what everyone else thought of the one they had. I think we don't actually fear other people's judgment. We fear the story we imagine that judgment tells about us. Most of the time, we're the only ones in the theater who ever wrote that script. Live your life. Walk out your front door and don't look around to see who's watching. Don't glance over to see if the neighbors are watching. Don't scan anyone's face for a reaction. Just walk, straight ahead, toward the life you actually chose. Your life is short, and too rare to spend performing for an audience that was never really watching. Let it be messy. Let it have real mistakes. Yours, not the ones you made avoiding judgment. When you get to the end and look back, say it plainly, like Frank Sinatra once said, "I did it my way."